In this video, we're going to go through how to use the dispense head on Firefly. To use the dispense head on Firefly requires a reservoir asset to aspirate from and a well array asset to dispense to. You do not need to consider syringes, as this is addressed during setup and loading. Let's start by having a look at the reservoir asset and its properties. To do this, click on the reservoir asset in the asset area. This will load the reservoir properties into the properties area. There are 6 properties in the reservoir asset. Let's look at each of them and what parameters they relate to. The first property is name. This is used to tell the user what liquids need to be loaded into the reservoir during the setup and loading of the instrument. You may also wish to include further information such as concentration here. For example, 80% ethanol. This asset is called beads. This informs the user that they need to load beads into this reservoir. Property 2, color. This allows users to change the color of the asset in the asset area, so they can differentiate between multiple reservoir assets easily. The third property is reservoirs. This allows the user to specify how many reservoir locations will be used for this specific reagent. This also allows the user to specify which locations will be used. For example, if I want to use 2 syringes for my dispense, these could be R1 and R2, or in this case, R1 and R4. Any combination of syringes is supported. The fourth property is reservoir type. There are 2 types of reservoirs that can be used with the Firefly. The standard reservoir, this has a maximum capacity of 10 milliliters. This should be used for bulk dispensing that requires a large reservoir volume. The low dead volume reservoir, this has a maximum capacity of 1.5 milliliters. This should be used with reagents that have low dispense volumes or where a low dead volume is required. The final properties are reservoir starting volume and overfill volume. These specify the volume of reagent that needs to be added to each reservoir at the beginning of the protocol. These will need to be calculated later once we have written all the dispense steps that use this asset. Now let's look at the different dispense steps that can be added to our protocol. The dispense head has 4 main steps that you can add to your protocol. Fill. This aspirates liquid from a reservoir, then dispenses a specified volume to each well of a well array asset. Aspirate. This aspirates liquid from a reservoir into 1 or more syringe. The aspirate volume is the volume that will be aspirated per syringe. Dispense. This dispenses liquid from 1 or more syringes into the wells specified in the well array asset. File fill. This aspirates liquid from 1 or more reservoirs, then dispenses specified volumes to specific wells of a plate. A CSV file is used to specify the volumes. In this video, we will focus on the properties of the fill step, as this covers the properties of both aspirate and dispense. When the fill step is added, the fill step properties are automatically loaded into the properties area. Let's have a look at the properties of a fill step. There are 5 properties in a fill step. Property 1, description. This is where a step can be described to give the user more detail into what is happening in the specific step. If this is left blank, a default description will be generated. Property 2, source. This is the reservoir that will be aspirated from. In this case, we will assign the reservoir we looked at earlier, beads. This asset can also be assigned by dragging and dropping onto the step. Property 3, destination. This is the well array that will be dispensed to. Let's assign the well array destination. Property 4, volume. This is the volume to be dispensed into each well of the well array. In this case, we will dispense 50 microliters of beads to each well. The final property is preset. When using a dispense step, the default setting will be sufficient in most cases. If you are handling complex reagents that are bubbly or viscous and experience issues, it may be necessary to use one of the provided presets. Let's look at these now. Preset 1. Gentle bulk addition over 5 microliters. This slows the dispense speed when dispensing a volume above 5 microliters. This preset will not work on any dispense under 5 microliters in volume. Preset 2. Slow aspirate. This slows the speed at which liquid is initially aspirated into the syringe. This can be useful with a very viscous liquid. Preset 3. Slow aspirate and gentle dispense over 5 microliters. This applies the changes of both gentle bulk addition over 5 microliters and the slow aspirate preset. In this case, I'm going to select the default setting. Now that we have specified the volume to be dispensed into each well of the well array, we can return to the reservoir asset and define the starting volume. For more information on how to calculate the reservoir volume, please see the user guide. In this case, for a 50 microliter dispense over a 96 well plate with 2 syringes using a standard reservoir type, the total volume required is 2.64 milliliters. Once you have specified the starting volume, the dispense step is now complete.